And the War of 1812, in case you don't remember, what was that about? Some Americans in 1812 believed that we needed a second war of independence against Great Britain, about 30 years after the end of the American Revolution. They believed we needed it for free trade, the right to send our American goods anywhere in the world without foreign interference. For sailors' rights, the right for sailors on American ships to be safe from being seized by the British Navy. And for Canada. With Great Britain distracted by a war with France, there was never before and never would be again a better time to seize the British territory of Canada and to make it a part of the United States. In 1812, America is a young country. It's about 30 years old. It does not yet command respect on the world stage. Honor is the prize if we win our War of 1812. However, the loss of our hard-won independence could be the cost if we lose. It is the first time America voted to go to war, and it is the closest war vote in American history. 2.5 years later, the American Army has failed in every attempt to invade Canada. We have not won our free trade or our sailors' rights on the battlefield. America is almost bankrupt, our credit is exhausted, and there's no more money to fight this war. In January of 1815, there is nothing more to gain, and there is everything to lose from the War of 1812. In January of 1815, we in New Orleans have just received the news that a British army has marched into Washington, D.C. They have destroyed our Capitol building. They have burned the White House to the ground. In January of 1815, the citizens of New Orleans know that that same British army is on the way here. When are they going to get here? We don't know. What direction are they coming from? We don't know. In this square, which was not a landscaped garden, it was an open grass field, but every able-bodied man in New Orleans gathered here to hear a speech. Major General Andrew Jackson of Tennessee was here, but he couldn't speak to a lot of the residents of the city, a city that was founded by the French and governed for 40 years by the Spanish. To assist him, he enlisted the help of a prominent and, most importantly, multilingual lawyer of New Orleans, Edward Livingston. The speech was written by a lawyer to be delivered to a diverse audience. There are with us here uniformed soldiers of the U.S. Army and Navy and Marines. There are volunteers from the wilderness of Kentucky and Tennessee. There are pirates and smugglers from the Barataria Swamp. There are also the free men of color, part of New Orleans' own Citizen Defense Force. Warriors from the neighboring Choctaw tribes were on their way here as well to join in the fight. And of course, these men could not succeed without the tireless work and support and effort of the women of New Orleans as well. What you're about to hear is the big halftime speech. It projects confidence and an assurance of victory because it has to. Edward Livingston is a lawyer, and he is making the most important argument of his career, that the fate of the new Republic of America is in your hands, and why you, people from different nations, different backgrounds, and different cultures, should share the burden of defending that idea. If we succeed, not only will America be saved, but by working together, we will have changed forever what it means to be an American. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the speech that Edward Livingston delivered here on this square on General Jackson's behalf.
Fellow citizens and soldiers, the General Commanding-in-Chief would not do justice to the noble ardor that has animated you in the hour of danger. He would not do justice to his own feeling if he suffered the example you have shown to pass without public notice. Inhabitants of an opulent and commercial town, you have, by spontaneous effort, shaken off the habits which are created by wealth and shown that you are resolved to deserve the blessings of fortune by bravely defending them. Long strangers to the perils of war, you have embodied yourselves to face them with the cool countenance of veterans, and with motives of disunion that might operate on weak minds, you have forgotten the difference of language and the prejudices of national pride, and united with a cordiality that does honor to your understandings as well as to your patriotism. Natives of the United States, they are the oppressors of your infant political existence with whom you are to contend. They are the men your fathers conquered, whom you dare to oppose. Descendants of Frenchmen, natives of France, they are the English, the hereditary, the eternal enemies of your ancient country, the invaders of all that you have adopted, who are your foes. Spaniards, remember the conduct of your allies at St. Sebastian and recently at Pensacola, and rejoice that you have an opportunity of avenging the brutal injuries inflicted by men who dishonor the human race. Free men of color, from the shores of Mobile I collected you to arms. I invited you to share in the perils and to divide the glory of your white countrymen. I expected much from you, for I was not uninformed of those qualities which must render you so formidable to an invading foe. I knew that you can endure hunger and thirst and all the hardships of war. I knew that you loved the land of your nativity, and that, like ourselves, you had to defend all that is most dear to man, but you surpass my hopes. I have found in you, united to those qualities, that ennoble enthusiasm which impels to great deeds. Fellow citizens of every description, remember for what and against whom you contend. For all that can render life desirable, for a country blessed with every gift of nature, for property, for life, for those dearer than either, your wives and children, and for liberty, without which country, life, property are no longer worth possessing, as even the embraces of wives and children become a reproach to the wretch who would deprive them by his cowardice of those invaluable blessings. You are to contend for all this against an enemy whose continued effort is to deprive you of the least of these blessings, who avows a war of vengeance and desolation carried on and marked by cruelty, lust, and horrors unknown to civilized nations. Citizens of Louisiana, the General Commanding-in-Chief rejoices to see the spirit that animates you, not only for your honor, but for your safety. For whatever had been your conduct or wishes, his duty would have led and will now lead him to confound the citizen unmindful of his rights with the enemy he ceases to oppose. Now, leading men who know their rights, who are determined to defend them, he salutes you, brave Louisianians, as brethren in arms, and has now a new motive to exert all his faculties, which shall be strained to the utmost in your defense. Continue with the energy you have begun, and he promises you not only safety, but victory over the insolent enemy who insulted you by an affected doubt of your attachment to the Constitution of your country. When I first looked at you on the day of my arrival, I was satisfied with your appearance, and every day's inspection since has confirmed the opinion I then formed. Your numbers have increased with the increase of danger, and your ardor has augmented since it was known that your post would be one of peril and honor. This is true love of country. You have added to it an exact discipline and a skill in evolutions rarely attained by veterans. The state of your corps does equal honor to the skill of the officers and the attention of the men. With such defenders, our country has nothing to fear. Everything I have said to the body of militia applies equally to you. You have made the same sacrifices. You have the same country to defend, the same motive for exertion. But I should have been unjust had I not noticed, as it deserved, the excellence of your discipline and the martial appearance of your corps. Mes concitoyens et mes frères d'armes, le général commandant ne ferait justice à la passion ennoblissante qui vous anime dans cette heure de danger. Il ne ferait justice à ses sentiments personnels s'il permettait à votre exemple de passer sans reconnaissance publique. En tant qu'habitant d'une ville splendide et commerçante, dans une impulsion spontanée, vous avez abandonné les habitudes forgées par la richesse et vous vous êtes rebellé, résolu à mériter les bénédictions de la liberté en les défendant. Bien que protégé depuis longtemps des périls de la guerre, vous vous êtes préparé pour les affronter avec le sang-froid des vétérans. Bien que motivé par la désunion qui aurait un effet néfaste sur les esprits plus faibles, vous avez oublié les différends de langue et les préjudices de fierté nationale et vous vous êtes unifié avec cordialité qui fait honneur à votre compréhension et votre patriotisme. Les natifs des États-Unis, je vous rappelle que eux avec qui vous êtes sur le point de combattre sont les oppresseurs de votre existence politique naissante. Vous vous êtes appelés à affronter ceux que vos pères ont vaincus. Les descendants des Français natifs de la France, ce sont les Anglais, les ennemis éternels, héréditaires de votre nation historique, les envahisseurs de celui que vous avez adopté. Ils sont vos adversaires. Les Espagnols, rappelez-vous le comportement de vos alliés à Saint-Sébastien et plus récemment à Pensacola et réjouissez-vous que vous avez une occasion de leur faire payer ces atteintes brutales infligées par des hommes qui déshonorent la race humaine. Les hommes de couleur, je vous ai recueillis aux armes des rives de Mobile. Je vous ai invités à partager les périls et à diviser la gloire de vos concitoyens blancs. De vous, je m'attendais à beaucoup, puisque j'ignorais pas les qualités qui vous rendent formidables à l'ennemi. Je savais que vous puissiez tolérer la faim et la soif et toutes les difficultés de la guerre. Je savais que vous aimiez la terre de votre naissance et que vous étiez obligés, comme nous, de défendre tout ce qui est le plus cher aux êtres humains. Mais vous dépassez mes espérances. J'ai découvert chez vous, en plus de ces qualités, un noble enthousiasme qui vous anime aux actions héroïques. The President of the United States shall be informed of your conduct on the present occasion, and the voice of the representatives of the American nation shall applaud your valor, as the General now praises your ardor. The enemy is near, his sails cover the lakes, but the brave are united, and if he finds us contending among ourselves, it will be for the prize of valor and fame, its noblest reward. Merci.
After we leave this square, we will march into battle. And what happens there, 5 miles down the river at Chalmette Plantation, will determine the fate of our homes, and it will decide the future of the American continent. For the rest of this week, we remember and we commemorate 200 years since that historic moment. If you have any questions or would like to speak to us before you go, feel free. I invite you now to step into the ranks and address the troops and the volunteers. On behalf of the National Park Service, I thank you for your kind attention this morning.